My name's Patrick. I mostly post about record stuff on Instagram, but I'm trying to move over more to YouTube where I can, do a little bit more long form stuff that doesn't disappear after 24 hours. And this is kind of my launch video for this new project I'm doing. So I'm starting a series where I interview record collectors in their record rooms. Filmed several, got many scheduled. I'm editing now. That'll be out in the new year. But I wanted to kind of like soft launch the channel by talking about my stuff. I'm more of a used buyer than a new buyer. I find that most of the new bands I find out about are, referred to me by friends, or I'm researching online constantly. I do a lot of like homework listening, as I call it. When I go into a record store, I tend to go, like The Wall, the new arrivals. If there's a rare band, I'm going to check that out. So this is probably one of the biggest records I got this year. This is perfectly titled, The Psychedelic Sounds of the 13th Floor Elevators. I had a friend tell me that he always dismissed this band as like hippie nonsense. And it is hippie nonsense, but it's like the transgressive side of the hippie movement. You're Gonna Miss Me When I'm Gone is the song that you've probably heard if you've heard this, and if you haven't, I suggest you start there. And if that doesn't hook you in, just listen to the whole thing, because you will find something that you like here. If you like garage, if you like psych, if you like acid, check out this record. The singer of this band, Rocky Erickson, he went to jail for drug possession in Texas. I think it was like almost a decade of mental facility / jail for that. And when he came out, he had honestly an excellent music career as a solo artist, Rocky Erickson, where he was doing, I wouldn't call it power pop, but it's certainly like catchy punk influenced stuff. Songs about zombies and songs about vampires and songs about alligator persons. Next up, we've got Rick Agnew, All By Myself. Rick Agnew is one of these guys. He's been in so many bands, and none of them for very long. And every band that he's in temporarily is like the best version of that band while he's in the band. So I'm talking Adolescence, I'm talking Christian Death. When you listen to this record, you really realize how much influence he had on all these other bands that he played in, because a lot of my favorite parts are present here, and it really, really solidifies the fact that like Rick was the guy who was doing a lot of this stuff. Yeah, check this out. Drums, Rick Agnew. Bass, Rick Agnew. Guitar, Rick Agnew. Keyboards, Rick Agnew. Vocals, Rick Agnew. I stole that joke for a solo record that I did during COVID for Pack Rat, but this is a fantastic punk record. One of the best true solo records that I can think of. Very different direction here. We've got Fela Kuti and Ginger Baker. This is a drum record. Ginger Baker is the drummer from Cream. What do Eric Clapton and Tim Hortons Coffee have in common? They both fucking suck without Cream. And so after Cream broke up, I think in like 68, Ginger Baker, he went abroad. He lived in Africa for a couple of years studying African drums. That's how this record came to be. This is a first press from 1972. Still, I mean, it's open, but it's got the shrink on it, which is, I usually pull that off, but. Okay, here's a record that I've been chasing for most of my life, at least 20 years. The first Forgotten Rebels 12-inch EP. I've been chasing this record for so long that I don't even really like it that much anymore. I like the Rebels. I just find as time goes on, the lyrics are just more and more detrimental to my overall opinion of the band. But I've been looking for this record for so long that I had to scoop a copy when I found one a couple months back. So speaking of records that I've been looking for a very long time, when I was, I guess, probably 18 years old, this was like the record I was looking for. This is the very, very tip top of my want list. This is Fucked Up Looking for Gold. But this is one of those like kind of mythical fucked up records. Great design on it. I remember the insert is also killer. Let a fool walk in darkness. I stopped looking for a copy of this a long time ago, but a buddy of mine had it in his sale pile and he had the nice price on it, so I figured I owed it to my 18-year-old self to pick that one up. Giorgio Moroder. You might not know the name, but you definitely know his music. He's a pioneer of synth. He has done many, many, many movie soundtracks in his life, but this is his earliest period. I think the closest comparison here would be the first two Brian Eno LPs, or maybe some of the Kim Fowley solo tracks, like some of the better Kim Fowley stuff. Son of My Father is definitely the best song. It's definitely, like, I think the high watermark, but Underdog is also a killer one, so check out the design on that. Okay, here's a big one. I did quite a bit of trading this year, and this was the results of a trade. So this is the Kids from Belgium. They really were kids. They were titled aptly here. I've been to Belgium twice now on tour, and every time I'm there, I'm asking record store owners, do you have the Kids LP? Do you have the Kids LP? Do you have the Kids LP? And I get the sense that like every North American band that tours through Belgium leaves with at least one Kids LP. So they were all dry when I was there. So this was a trade I did with a Euro collector. I sent him a whole stack of original Teenage Head Flyers and some early Canadian Punk 45s. And I got this and a couple others. Different speed again here. We've got one of my favorite guys out there, William Onyeabor. When the going is smooth and good, many people. And I mean, as you can see, the condition is pretty crappy. A rare Discogs purchase for me. I usually try and find stuff in the wild, but I got these off Discogs and they were both rated VG+, which, as you can tell, is probably not correct. I didn't want to fight with the guy, so I didn't bother. William Onyeabor is kind of like a Willy Wonka figure in my mind, Nigerian Willy Wonka, where he's like an industrialist. He owned many businesses. He employed a lot of people in his town. And also just look at how cool he looks. The story that I read, and there's a really good documentary about him as well, but the story that I read, he was importing a lot of synths from Europe and Russia. So, I mean, you can see some early Moog synths there. He was getting a lot of Soviet stuff. He owned the recording studio. He owned the pressing plant. He employed the house band that played on these, and he wrote all these songs. One day, he found God, and he just vowed to never talk about music ever again. So a couple weeks ago, I was in Los Angeles, and I was playing a gig with Mike Kroll, and the Canadian dollar is so crappy that I had to be very careful with what I bought, but this is one of the few records that I did buy. So this is a promo copy of the first Saints LP, American Press. I've been looking for a copy of this for a very long time, so to get a promo copy is just a cherry on top. Like I said, I always prefer to find stuff in the wild as opposed to buying online, and that's kind of why I didn't have a copy of this for so long, because I'm like, I will find it when I find it, and I found it. A few weeks back, I was at a record fair in Toronto, and on my way out, I found this guy, and he had the first two Seeds LPs. A Web of Sound as well, which is the second Seeds record. These are both really, really, really clean versions. I do think that there's an even earlier version of the Seeds which doesn't have the hype around Pushing Too Hard, but when it comes to 60s stuff, as long as it's like clean and original, or original-ish, I'm happy. So often you find these 60s records and they're just trashed, but that was not the case here, so I was very happy. The Soft Boys, Underwater Moonlight. This is a first Canadian pressing on Attic, like a lot of great Canadian pressings. To me, the Soft Boys are like what I want the Only Ones to sound like. They are kind of like broody, melancholic power pop. If you like the Only Ones and you've never heard the Soft Boys, check this out. Another one of my favorite bands of all time is the Strokes. So this is a first European pressing, a record I've been chasing for a very, very, very long time, which has the original artwork. This is deemed too risky for North American audiences, so they changed the art. This is a first US press, which I bought when I first started buying records in like the mid-2000s. I got this one. This is the updated artwork, which is not as good, in my opinion. I got this in a trade recently with my buddy Tad in LA, so thank you, Tad. And my last used LP score of the year, Suicide. This is a Canadian exclusive album cover. The album cover that you know and probably love by Suicide has been relegated to the back cover of the record, but it does include bonus track I Remember, which is just the B-side of the Cherie 7-inch. Okay, so let's finish this up. Punk 45s are generally the main thing that I collect. Certainly the category that I chase the hardest. Not all of this is expensive. Case in point, Blondie. Big Blondie fan. I love the Blondie formula. Girls singer in a very tight power pop band. Even better if there's a keyboard player. This is what I refer to as the Blondie formula, and it's something you can find all over my record collection. And this one is neat because it's got a French version of Sunday Girl. Debbie Harry singing Sunday Girl en français. I didn't know I needed before I found it. So this is a band called Cassie. The track is Change My Image. In fact, this is the Blondie formula. A couple years ago, the record label Reminder Records put out a compilation LP, The Light Shines On, of all the unreleased Cassie stuff as well as this single. If you're into what I described as the Blondie formula, I definitely suggest you check this out. And if you check this out and you like it and you want more, you should also check out this compilation. I feel like all roads lead back to this compilation. Heroes of the Night, also on Reminder. This Cassie 45 I got off my buddy Daniel in Sweden. I do a lot of trading with him. Shout out Daniel, he's always good for hooking it up. The Fans, Giving Me That Look in Your Eyes. Clean 79 power pop that like really only the Brits can do. If you like the Vapors or the Records, you're gonna dig the Fans as well. Back in November, I was at a record fair in Toronto and I got a copy of Richard Hell and the Voidoids. This is the first 7-inch. Stiff Records version. You can see a very young Marky Ramone on the back there. And one of my favorite things about this record is this font. Really punk, really cool stuff. I found the Orc Records version. So this is the American pressing. Marky Ramone's jawline is something from another world, you might say. Pretty early in 2025, I stumbled upon this. The Lollipop Shop, You Must Be a Witch. This was the original band of Fred Cole, who later went on to do Dead Moon. The Lollipop Shop were originally called The Weeds, and their manager also managed The Seeds. And the manager said, your names are too similar, so you have to change it. And I believe the manager chose Lollipop Shop, which is definitely not as good of a name as The Weeds, but they went with it. And so the single came out under the Lollipop Shop on Uni Records. They were a Las Vegas-based band. They were trying to dodge the draft. And they were like, let's go to Canada. They ran out of money somewhere around Portland, which is where Fred Cole lived for the rest of his life. So the main band that I collect is the Ramones. I'm trying to get every Ramones picture sleeve. 3 I want to highlight here, these 3 Ramones 45. So the first one up is a US press of I Want to Be Your Boyfriend, actually gifted to me by my buddy Mike Kroll. I can always tell when a record in my collection is from Mike Kroll because of the sleeves that he uses. He's a sleeve man. So this is a German She's the One with Sheena on the back. Just a classic Ramones picture sleeve. I can't get enough of these things. I love these things. Here's another one. It's another copy of Sheena. Italian picture sleeve here. We got a little bit of writing on the label. Doesn't bother me so much. So down here on the bottom, you can see it says 577, which means that it's from May of 77. Again, this is like one of the classic Ramones picture sleeves. Anytime you see that like punk rock razor blade show up on a picture sleeve, you know you're in for a treat there. Here we've got something completely different to that pile. Japanese Neil Young 45. I had the chance to see him live for the first time ever. It was a spiritual moment for me. So this is a Japanese press of Heart of Gold and Sugar Mountain. You just don't see Neil 45s very often, and if you do, they almost never have picture sleeves on them. So to get one that's well designed, and I paid a tenner for it, so can't complain about that, you know? Last one, Windsor, Ontario, The Spies.
We keep trying to use our mind.
It came with originally 2 different sleeves, so there's a yellow one and there's a white one. Underground and Machine Shop are the A and the B here. A classic Canadian Punk 45. And if you know anything about Ontario, this might be the best thing to ever come out of Windsor, honestly. If you're still here and you're into this, please hit subscribe, like, comment, do all that kind of stuff. This is a new project that I'm doing, as I mentioned. I'm going to be talking to a lot of other collectors, interviewing people, getting to know them and their collections and their stories. But I'm also going to be just talking about records and doing musical deep dives a lot more on YouTube. In the past, I've done a lot more stuff on Instagram, but I like the long form format that I can do here. And I just think that it might be a better home for this kind of stuff. So I want to make something cool, and I want it to be good for you. So give me a shout.